just having a quick pre-Christmas look around at some cover crops. Nothing exciting this year. I'll turn the camera on and show you. It's the strongest plants have come, I suppose. Defender radish, a few oats. If you look hard enough you can find a bit of vetch, but it takes a bit of finding. It's I can't find a bit now. It's fairly even. There's more annual meadowgrass, which is that there. The volunteer barley, which is all this here. That I like to see. We did spray volunteers off in this. We didn't make an ape of the difference, to be quite honest. It was drilled end of the second week of August. Very dry, so the volunteers didn't come. Thought we'd give it a scratch, and we sprayed off what was there. It was only a fairly small, it turned out to be at least. It's only a fairly small proportion that's turned out to be being killed. So the volunteer barley is quite competitive anyway. The cold has taken out the buckwheat, and the vetch has just struggled a bit. I'm still struggling to find a bit to show you. The vetch has struggled with all the competition and the weather that went from very hot and very dry to actually very wet and quite cold, because as you can imagine, cold rainfall cools land down, slows growth. But the amount of annual meadowgrass, blimey, it's like a meadow. I suppose that's where it gets its name from. But you'd think it's spun it on with the first spinner. And it is meadowgrass, it's not blackgrass, just in case you wondered. We do have a field of potatoes on somebody else's land that's got quite a lot of blackgrass amongst it. But that's one of the benefits of crop rotation. It gives you different modes of control of the weeds. And that's probably one of the most effective defences, is different crops, different modes, different seasons, different drilling dates, just variety, diversity, to give it a modern term, I suppose. And with this track here, it's quite dry across the stretch of this field. Well, it looks a bit puddly now. The ruts aren't really deep. In fact, they're really quite shallow. Some flotation tyres on trailer. That corner where the one gate is, and that corner down there, are the wettest parts of the next field. So this is for sugar beet. No, this is for potatoes. That's for sugar beet. Through there, giving a convenient gap between the trees. It used to be a gate once upon a time. It sort of got a little bit built up with broken branches and bits and out, so we cleared it out to make ourselves a way through, because there's two purposes to having a muck up here. It's keeps you away from the drains, and it's in the drier part of the field. This is the biggest field on the farm. It's called well field, so one assumes there must be a well in it somewhere. I've never found it. And this is a little bit more uniform. We'll have a look over there. You can't see for the sun really, but there is a bit in that corner. There's about 6 or 7 acre in that corner that we've spread muck on before we put the cover on, and it wasn't bad. There's a bit of edge. Can survive a bit better in here. I don't really know why. Both fields fall to winter barley. It's not often that both fields are the same crop, but they often follow it's a 6-year rotation basically of 2 cereals and a root in broad terms. It doesn't extend it, but it doesn't pull back closer usually, so that you will see sugar beet and potatoes 1 year in 6 or 7. And generally wheat will follow potatoes, and then winter barley, so it'll get ploughed at that point to try and combat the wheat politics in the barley. Then that gives an 8-year entry for the cover crop that follows. Then after sugar beet, it's usually, depends a bit when we lift it, but it'll usually be spring oats or spring barley, spring malted barley or spring milling oats. And then if it's following spring barley, it'll be a winter barley, and if it's following oats, it'll be a wheat, and then back into spuds. Occasionally we extend that a bit with a crop of beans or something like that, and another first wheat if land elsewhere dictates that we don't need as many spuds at home. And it does need a little bit of tweaking occasionally, because we usually have 30 acre of potatoes at home and about 50 acre of beet, so it doesn't quite fit perfectly. Sometimes beet comes round a bit quicker than tatties do. It sounds a bit of a mix match, but it seems to have worked for the last 20 odd years, so if it isn't broken, don't fix it. You can sort of tell which are the oats and which are the barley because you can see the drill lines down there. And the barley in the bottom, if I get down a bit lower, it doesn't stand up like the oats does. There's a bit of vetch. We like vetch because it adds fertility. There's vetch there. The radishes are there to control nematodes primarily, and it's a deeper cultivator. It breaks the soil pan up. I can't remember whether there's two varieties of radish in here. I don't think there is. I think it's all Defender. Defender for us seems to be the most resilient of all the radishes. The oats are basically cheap. They're good rooters. It's organic matter more than anything else. It's carbon capture, sunlight, and soaks up a fair bit of nutrition. All the things do really, apart from the veg. And it bulks up a bit. It's quite cheap. I'm a big believer in keep it simple. So we don't go for 7, 8, 9 way mixes. It tends to be 4 as a rule. Occasionally there might be 5 species in a mix. The veg is for the fertility. The buckwheat is trying to mobilise a bit of phosphate, trying the nutrient availability, I suppose. It makes it mobile. The radishes soak it up. There's my bit Phacelia there. We didn't sow Phacelia in this mix, but there could well have been a bit in the drill. Now here we have a control strip. This is what happens. I would say, if you didn't put any cover on, I could say when drill runs out and operator doesn't notice, you can draw your own conclusions as to which one's actually happened. It is good. I'll bring a spade with me. And the reason I think it's run out is because there's an odd radish here and there. I don't think it goes right to the end. There's an odd seed or two here and there that has grown, which suggests it's rattled out a drill. The drill's actually been over it, but it hasn't sown any seeds. But if you look at the barren monoculture of that, and the diversity and the relative success of the cover, for all as the cover crop goes, it's fairly poor. It is worth still drilling because it's life in the soil. And if you, in very simple terms, if we strengthen the good stuff, the good bacteria, the good soil life, then that'll outweigh, it stops the bad stuff from flourishing. And that's really important. Natural soil defences to all the pests that we face is really important, because chemicals cost money. The pests that you're trying to control become resistant to the controls if you're not careful. We've got a slightly thinner cover here. Somewhere down there. There's the stick. And instantly walking across it, I've seen it. I've forgotten that we did this. But that was quite thick that I showed you before, and this is comparatively thinner, which is interesting because the seed was dressed with graphite. It was a bit of an experiment, just one sachet, let's stick it in and try it. We'll mix it up in the feed mixer, and it looks to restricted growth, which is not what it's supposed to be doing. Interesting. I'll have to get my spade and have a look and see what's going on there. It's also, you can see that where we had some wheat trials, were the wheat trials? Yeah, I think so. In there, the cover's not as prolific. Could be the angle of the stubble, but you can certainly see the square where the trials were. It was only fungicide trials, so it shouldn't have reduced the growth of the cover, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. There's always a question in farming. Why? Always ask why. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can learn from it. Sometimes you put it down to a bad decision or call it experience. It could be weather. It could be anything really, but it's a constant learning curve. I've only been doing it 30 years. And I suppose another 10 before that. And I was showing a bit of interest when I was a kid. And constantly we keep learning. Nobody ever knows everything. Sometimes we think we've learned quite a bit, another season goes past and actually we didn't know as much as we thought we did. So anyway, road up just about Christmas. There's the other stick, look, the edge of the trial. corner of this land in this field isn't as clever as it is over there. It's just a bit sticky. So maybe it's something to do with the soil type in this corner, because this season it hasn't had rest and it still looks comparatively poor. I'll do another video from the other end of the field another day, but it's Christmas Eve, it's 3:20, and at 4 o'clock we're going to visit village candle service, so I better go get in the shower. I'll catch you later.